We're making apple tart. We want to get some flour and we need 187 grams of that approximately. Here I'm using whole wheat, but you can use white cake flour if you like. To that we're going to add some sugar. I'm using white sugar here, and that is about 31 grams. You can use brown sugar if you want, it won't change the consistency too much. And then you just want to give your flour and sugar a quick stir to make sure that they're combined. Now you need about 40% of 1 block of butter, which should be about 94 grams, which is what I'm going for here. I'm going to weigh it, and 93, okay, close enough. So we need to chop up the butter. Ideally you want to make very small cubes, about 5 millimeters by 5 millimeters, but as you can see it's sticky and messy, so just do your best. Cut it up, first one way, then another way, and then you're going to put it all together into one bowl, and it's going to look like this. You will add that butter to your flour sugar mixture, and then you're going to need to mix this. So gently and carefully you're going to want to toss the butter with the flour, and then you're going to start to sort of press in slowly into the flour. Don't use too much force, but you do need to mix it in. It's important that your butter is cold, and then it'll end up looking like this, kind of like crumbs. Okay, so everything is evenly distributed. Taking an egg, and you're going to separate the yolks from the whites. Just one egg, and you're going to take 1 egg yolk. You're going to keep it. I'm just measuring here quickly to make sure I have 15 grams, and we do. Now measuring out 2 grams of salt in a different scale, and you add the salt to the egg yolk. You want 48 grams of cold water, which you then add to the egg yolk and salt, and you can mix this up. Make sure it's all nicely distributed. Add that to your flour butter, and now you need to sort of gently mix this together. You're just combining, you're letting the liquid and the dry ingredients get together. You don't want to use too much force, and you want to do this quickly because your hands are warm and they are going to melt the butter. So I'm very gently mixing. Hopefully you can see. Just gently mixing it together and then rolling it up into a ball. Really maybe 15 seconds of putting it together. Need to weigh this to find out that we have 365 grams of dough. Cut that in half, make a hockey puck, and then you're going to wrap that up and put it in the fridge for at least 2 hours, preferably 4. Okay, so you'll have 2 of those, so you'll have 2 crusts. You can make another pie later. Set your oven to 220 Celsius, which is pretty hot, and get Granny Smith apples. That's what you want for this recipe, 6 of them in fact. We will be peeling the apples, so you just slowly and methodically take off all of the peel until you have all 6 of them finished. Then you're going to need to chop up these apples. So it's up to you how large you want to make these. I'm going for about 1.5 centimeter cube-ish, but obviously it's rough, and you can see the size here hopefully. I'm kind of just chopping it up and guessing at my size. They're smaller than 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters, but this is up to you. You can make them larger if you want. I don't know if I would go any smaller because you want a little bit of texture left for the apples in your pie. So you're going to chop up all 6 apples and you'll have a big pie like this, and then you want to put it into some cold water where you've squeezed half a lemon. So that'll just keep it from going brown, where you can work on other things. Now we need more butter. I'm hoping that this is going to be 40 grams, guesstimating, and then I want to put into my pan, make sure that I have it, I can adjust later. To that I'm going to add 100 grams. This pan is 8 inches or 20 centimeters. That's the size you need for this recipe. Now you're going to put that pan onto the stove and set it to medium-high and get that butter melted and the sugar starting to combine. There we have it. And then add all your apples. Give them a stir, get them coated with the sugar and the butter, and now you're going to leave this to cook on medium-high for 15 minutes. It seems like a long time. Here it is about after 3 minutes, and now it's really going. A lot of the water is coming out of the apples. Here we are, almost finished at about 12 minutes. And then finally it's going to look like this, almost like a caramel on the bottom. So take it off after 15 minutes, and that'll give you an opportunity to sprinkle it with spice of your choice. Here I'm using cinnamon, a lot of it, but you can use chai spice, or you can even add nothing. It'll be tasty without spices. Now we take our dough that we made earlier, and you're going to sprinkle the top with flour just so that your rolling pin doesn't stick. So you basically just have to get your rolling pin and flatten this thing out. You just keep going back and forth, side to side, and then you're going to get something that looks like this. Now you need to roll it, once it's finished, roll it back up onto the pin. So slowly and carefully separate it from the parchment paper, and you're going to do this so that you can transfer it without cracking. Bring it over to the pan, and now you're going to unroll it on top. So you can see our tart is upside down. So unroll it, trim the excess, and then you're going to push down on the sides, just gently, not scraping anything. And now you're going into the oven, and you're going to leave it in there for 15 minutes. Use an oven mitt, please. It's going to be very hot, and then quickly take it out of the oven after that 15 minutes and give it a jiggle. Now this part, be very careful with. I'll say it again, please be very careful, because you're going to flip it out onto a plate upside down, and then there you have it, your apple pie. Cut it up into 4 pieces, add some ice cream, and enjoy.